As we begin chapter 4, we will begin talking about self-management. And if you think about the definition of self-management, it's the management of oneself. We're going to talk a lot about taking responsibility for your own behavior and being a creator rather than a victim. This week's quote is, "Success is no accident. It is hard work, perseverance, learning, studying, sacrifice, and most of all, love of what you are doing." And ultimately, if you think about success really is truly a choice. Granted, things happen along the way in the process. You'll run into some hurdles and some roadblocks, but it's your desire, your perseverance, and your hard work that will determine the level of success that you achieve in life. A great video here that you have an opportunity to watch that's on discipline and intent, and it really hits home on the component of self-management and responsibility. A second video I'd like you to take some time to watch as we're looking at time management is the parable of the jar, and it really hits on what is important to you and filling your life with the things that are most important first, that are of highest value. Maybe it's your job, your family, your children, your religion, whatever, and then filling it with the second most important items, and then finally the sand. And those are things, as we talk about quadrants, time management quadrants, these are the things that are in quadrant 4, like video games, social media, watching TV, hanging out, things that don't have as much value or shouldn't have as much value in our life. They take up less space, and ultimately if you run out of time during the day, the things that should be left out aren't the big rocks, the big pieces of our life, but rather the grains of sand and unimportant things like social media. As we look at successful students, we recognize that successful students are going to act on purpose. So everything that they do is a purposeful action. They go to class every day. They do their homework. They're on time. It demonstrates a lot of self-responsibility. Another key to a successful student is that they employ self-management tools. And they're very organized and detailed in what they do. And then they also develop self-discipline. They have the ability to be proactive, and they do their assignments right away rather than procrastinate and wait until the last minute. And then at that point, a lot of bad things can happen. Maybe D2L's down, and you can't utilize that system. So we want to plan ahead to be successful. What things must you do to be a successful student? You must attend class, read books, write essays, form study groups, do research, go to the ASC, get help, don't quit. There's so many resources for you, even as an online student, that if you choose to employ, you will be successful in your college courses. Things that struggling students do that successful students don't. Struggling students are very passive. They quit when it gets tough. They are disorganized. They don't have a planner. They don't have even a plan, let alone a planner. They can't find their study materials because things are everywhere. They haven't planned ahead. They don't look at their calendar for the week and be like, "Oh, I have to work Tuesday and Wednesday night. I should probably do my homework now." They wait, kind of wander aimlessly through this whole process of study. Look at these individuals here. What do these people all have in common? And there's a lot of different things that they have in common, but probably the key thing that they have in common is that they are highly successful, highly motivated individuals, and they have been very meticulous and very directed in their pursuit of excellence and success. And so I want you to see those individuals and find some inspiration in these people and their drive towards excellence. So some key things, successful DSC student project planning tips. Stephen Covey is a great author, works with a lot of businesses, speaks for a lot of corporations. But he says, work with the end in mind. And that means have goals, long-term, short-term, that you can measure yourself against and you can keep focused. So when you look at your semester, work with the end of the term in mind. So you have all this that needs to be completed by X, Y, and Z. So have that in mind, and then as you work through each week, keep that final goal as a directing force for you. Work backwards from the deadline or due date, or lay out each step that you need to take on the path to its completion. We have a great resource in our assignment scheduler online at the library, and use it on the online library, that will help you, especially with those big projects, map out deadlines and work towards that goal. And it goes into the next one, which is assignment planning. Understand the realistic timeframes by which it's going to take you to complete an assignment, and make sure you're giving yourself enough time to do your best work. And I know this one's big for me. Break reading into meaningful chunks. I have a tough time with reading comprehension, so I read a little bit at a time so that I can stay focused. Studies have shown that you have great, intense focus for 30-second time chunks. So read a page, and then take a break. Read a page, and then allow yourself to really lock in and understand what you're reading. And then I think key to this too is not doing marathon homework sessions. Lots of times we procrastinate. We wait till the last minute to study for a test. It is proven that this is not a successful means to long and lasting learning. We learned early on that prior knowledge is important. So what you bring to the table of familiar information is important, but also different modes of learning, as well as how many times you touch this information. So if you study every night for a week, you're going to retain a lot more information. If you do flashcards one night, maybe an outline the next night, and you're doing different modes, again, you're going to have better retention of information. Use a planner to record your assignments. We have that Pulse app that is outstanding, that will alert you when assignments are due. We also have our notifications options on the D2L system that will notify you when your assignments are due as well. Check your calendar. I use my calendar on my phone to remember everything in life. I have alarms go off that says, oh, you have a meeting now, just to keep me on track so that I don't forget anything. Meet with an advisor about midway through the semester to make sure you're on track, so that you always have your graduation in mind, and make sure you're taking the right prereqs and right courses. So as I mentioned earlier, we're going to be talking about these 4 quadrants today. Stephen Covey came up with this time management matrix of how to map out your day or your week. You want to think about life in these 4 quadrants. Quadrant 1 is everything that's urgent and important. Quadrant 2 is not urgent and important. Quadrant 3 is urgent, not important. And quadrant 4 is not urgent, not important. So the little quote at the top is, goals and dreams set your destination, but only persistent, purposeful actions will get you there. So as we work in these quadrants, creators, we're going to talk about this a little bit more, work primarily in quadrant 1 and quadrant 2. If you're working in quadrant 1 and quadrant 2, you're going to be doing actions that are important. Creators, most successful creators, are working in quadrant 2 because quadrant 1 is urgency. It's a lot of stressful deadlines that have to be met. So make sure that you are meeting those criteria. Quadrant 3 and 4, 3 is when you're allowing other people's problems to become your problems, and quadrant 4 is just wasted time, wasted energy. So as we look more specifically at each quadrant, quadrant 1, this is necessity, deadline-driven, important, and urgent. Constantly creating modest results while sacrificing extraordinary success in the future. And like I said and mentioned, we have a lot of stress and anxiety in quadrant 1. Quadrant 2 here is a quadrant of quality and personal achievement. So you're going to have this personal development. You're prepared, you're organized, you're problem preventing. And if you note, we talked about early on that successful students act on purpose, employ self-management skills, and develop self-discipline. So that sounds very similar to the actions that occur in quadrant 2. Creators exist primarily in quadrant 2. You have goals, affirmations, life plans, why choice processes, and you're, like I said, acting on purpose. You have purposeful actions and great time management skills. Quadrant 3, these are your time burglars. These are when other people's problems become your problems. You want to avoid, obviously, these urgent things that have no value in your life. And then Quadrant 4, time wasters. They're everywhere. Things like watching TV, playing video games, hanging out, napping. I think that's a college student's favorite thing, but it really truly becomes a waste of time and takes away from your productivity throughout the day. Creators spend a majority of their time in quadrants 1 and 2. Creative behavior, you're going to attend class regularly. You're going to be taking great notes. You're doing your assignments. You're utilizing interdependence and studying in study groups. You have that organized planner, whether it's on your phone, through the Pulse app, notifications from D2L, or just an old school planner to stay organized. And then also your notes are very organized. You study them often. I highly encourage you to consider the Cornell note-taking method. There's different note-taking methods, but this one is extremely organized, allows you to draw on your information successfully in an organized manner. Quadrant 3 and 4, this is where your victim is going to reside. You repeat unproductive actions. You complain. It's everybody else's fault. You create excuses for yourself. You take very little responsibility for your actions. These are the people that often fail just by their choices and their choices alone. A lot of wasted time is spent in Quadrant 3 and 4. So we want to avoid that victim behavior and be excellent time managers. So I wish you all the best. Hopefully this class gets you on the right track to operating in Quadrant 2 primarily and Quadrant 1 as needed when those deadlines get on top of you. But best of luck. Hopefully we can work on our proactiveness and avoid the common pitfall of procrastination.